Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode here at the Kickpod podcast, the podcast dojo for inspirational martial arts talk. I am your host, TJ Williams, fourth degree black belt of the Chuck Norris system, here to give you the insider of my martial arts journey, discussing and analyzing martial arts based subjects, and highlight individuals involved in martial arts past, present, and future. And for those who are just joining me, this is for the first time in this show. This is a pre-recorded episode, so whatever I talk about in this episode is either already passed or is coming up. So of course we're in the midway of May right now. So of course spring is slowly emerging and getting hotter out there. And of course we dealt with our two holidays, Star Wars Day and as well as Cinco de Mayo, and of course coming up and probably say tomorrow is Mother's Day. So for all you mothers out there, so happy Mother's Day. And even if your mother is a Jehovah's Witness like mine, still treat your mother to, I don't know, go out to dinner or go out to lunch, whatever happens. I mean, you don't have to always give her a gift, right? Or just be there with her, have a conversation. And lastly, on a sad note, as you can see while I'm wearing the shirt, a young man known by the name of Dakota Latch passed away a couple of days ago. And if you don't know Dakota, he suffers from hypoplastic left heart syndrome, which is a birth defect. And I met Dakota back in 2017 at the UFAP ITC. He seems like a wonderful young man, and of course, he fought this condition for a long time. His parents was by his side every time, and going in and out of the hospital. Just let's say he's pretty much was a fighter, and he pretty much fought this condition all the way to till a couple of days ago. So, but nevertheless, he's an example of people that are fighting this condition, and he's just letting people know that you continue fighting no matter how hard life knocks you down. You always get back up. So I just want to get that out there. Hey, so I know he's listening right now. He's probably watching this as I'm doing it, but he's definitely going to be watching me in July 6th when I get my master rank. So I'm looking forward to that. All right. Anyway, I got a guest with me today. So he's from Ann Arbor, Michigan. Of course, he has over 50 years of martial arts experience. Definitely, he is one of the leading martial arts instructors in North America, holding black belts in multiple styles of martial arts. And he authors 10 books. Of course, he's owns successful businesses in diverse fields: martial arts, marketing, publishing, law, and also he is the co-host of the podcast, the Kick Punch Choke Chat, which I was on a few weeks ago. So if you haven't seen the episode, it is on YouTube. So tune in if you haven't seen it yet. So I like I like to introduce everybody to Nicklaus Suino. So he decided to come on the show. Originally, he was supposed to be on the show with another guest, but due to scheduling conflicts, he had to deal with that. But now he's back. So that's it made up for it.
I'm
How we doing?
back.
Yeah. How we doing, Nicholas?
Doing great, man. It's so good to see you again, TJ. That was a great episode. I love learning all about your martial arts career and the lead up to what's going to be a really big event in your life this summer.
Oh, definitely. Well, now it's your turn. So how's everything going with you?
It's going good, man. I can't complain. You know, life's a gift, and every day you got to wake up and embrace everything you can.
Yeah, with a drink of water.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if I got at least have a sip of water to get me woken up.
I don't know if it's good or bad, but I everything I drink has caffeine in it these days.
Yeah, I try not to get too crazy with that caffeine, though. Just a little sip and then that's it. All right, Nicholas, you're going to take us back in time because I know with every martial arts journey, there's always a beginning that pretty much builds you right up to martial arts. So basically, the first few questions is, well, how would you describe yourself before getting into martial arts, and what was that one event that got you into martial arts?
Well, let's see. So before martial arts, I was a little kid with a big mouth, um, kind of a dreamer, right? Just walked around the world, just in my own head, not super confident. It probably got roughed up a little bit. It was kind of interesting. we were upper middle class white liberals. My father was a university professor, and my folks thought it'd be a great idea to move us into a really challenged neighborhood. And so I spent a lot of my days fighting on my way home from school and in school and on my way to school. Um, and so my folks just finally said, this poor kid's not going to make it to being a teenager unless we give him some way of defending himself. So they took me down to the local YMCA and had me watch a judo class. And man, I was hooked. First minute, unbelievable. I'm sitting there watching. I remember to this day the little lobby area and then the dojo, and they were doing a demo like the start of the season or the start of the fall, judo program. And there were like three senseis, and they came out and they talked a little bit, and they threw the kids and they threw each other and they demonstrated this stuff. And man, before it was done, I just knew that was my thing, man. Never looked back.
Yeah, amazing. I mean, of course, I wish I had that experience going to the Y and actually learn my. Actually, I did go to the Y as a little kid, but only daycare. But
Oh yeah.
and well, I never had the experience to actually take a martial arts class at the Y. Yeah, and of course, the Y that I was at, of course, it turned to like a haven. I mean, it kind of breaks my heart to actually see it close because that was
Mm.
like the Y that I grew up with, and definitely it was so close to home and everything. It was close to everything, Main Street, uh, even Burger King. So yeah. So if I was gonna get something to eat, I can simply go down the street and just, or even across the street, there was a KFC. So yeah,
Nice. Health food, right?
yeah. Well, I don't want to get too crazy with KFC.
Right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, nowadays it's just I cook my own stuff. I don't worry about fast food unless I'm on the road, so I don't have no choice. Yeah. All right. So well, can you give us like the first memory of your first lesson, like when you started off in judo? So can you remember like your first class?
Uh, Probably not the first class, but the first year of judo. We had a great program. They did a really good job with the kids. Probably had 30 kids in our judo program. Everybody from me, like little white belt guys, all the colored belts that they had in those days. Um, and it was really tournament oriented. So we would train, and we go to tournaments every 3 months or whatever. And we had a couple guys that were just killers. They were so good. One of the things they did in those days was they'd line everybody up from lowest to highest, and the lowest guy had to fight the next guy, and whoever won that one fight the next guy, and the next guy, and the next guy, and the next guy. And in the beginning, I just got my ass beat like you always do in judo. But I would start making my way up that line a little bit more over the months. And the first judo tournament we went to was this huge tournament. In those days, the AAU was big, the Amateur Athletic Union. And so we'd go to these judo tournaments with 300-400 kids. And it was so cool. It was the first time I realized the adrenaline that other people felt. I had it too, but it didn't stop me. It didn't scare me. So a lot of the guys that could beat me in the dojo, they would get starstruck on, in a big event, and they'd get tunnel vision. And so that's something I noticed really early, was that I could get in tournaments, and even though I was charged up, didn't stop me. And so I was beating a lot of the guys that could beat me in my own dojo.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing about most Christ dojos or Christ schools, that not only they're teaching you like the basics and the fundamentals of martial arts styles, but yet they could yet prepare you for, of course, competition. And in this case, either schools have their own tournaments, or yet there's other tournaments out there that you can find and you can sign up. So yeah, mostly that's what me we usually have uh in-house tournaments, that they would call them. And in this case, if there was other tournaments like local tournaments or even like national tournaments, I mean, that's like optional. You can actually go to actually those tournaments and compete. In which those national tournaments, if you're going against somebody that's been trained for an entire year, they're like experienced hunters. And yet, if you don't train like they do, then you're just a deer. So you're
Mhm.
there ready to be hunted. So yeah,
Yep.
I mean, it was just that experience. I wasn't looking to beat a hunter, but in this case, I was just being a deer.
Right. That's how we start.
Yeah, and that's just actually getting these kids to almost like not compete, but just showing the fundamentals of what competition is, other than sparring or even kata wise. So yeah, so that's pretty much the tough thing that is for today, because kids are so focused on technology, and it's hard for them to actually, you know our the generation today is kind of like not our generation yesterday. It's like we kind of grew out of that generation and got to a new generation where technology is took it over. So it's like up to people like me and you to get them out of that phase and kind of bring back our generation. And if we end up losing technology and end up going at the mail stuff to the mailbox other than just doing it online, then so be it. Yeah.
Well, we give them we at my dojo, we give them an hour or two a week away from the technology, and those kids love it. But I guess there's probably for every 10 kids at my dojo training, there's probably 100 who are sitting in their room, right, with the iPad or the phone, or three things at once, like my kid, right, the computer screen, the iPad, and the phone. None of which we had when I was growing up.
Yeah, I mean, all we had was like the big screen TV, and of course, for me, either was like, well, of course, we couldn't like watch TV or play Nintendo at the same time. I mean, of course, well, of course, they could invent the Game Boy, so yeah, that kind of
Oh yeah,
yeah,
old school technology.
yeah.
Yep.
Uh, all right, so what would you say? Well, you said pretty much your mindset after that is like you were so into this that did you go on to doing other things other than judo?
Yeah, but not right away. So I stayed in judo until high school, and then I met the high school gymnastics coach, and he just encouraged me to get into gymnastics. So I took to that, and so I went to a 4-year high school, did gymnastics for that time, did pretty well at it, and then came back to martial arts after high school. And the first martial art I got into was karate, Shorin karate, which I loved. I mean, I haven't met a martial art I don't love. Um, Done a lot of them, but got back into judo a little bit at that time, and focused on those for the most part until I moved to Tokyo in 1988 to study Japanese jiu-jitsu, judo, and iaido, which is kind of the thing I've gotten known for since I've been back.
Yeah, so yeah, it's always best to actually go through those other martial arts styles. I mean, you kind of stick with one, and then you say I have to do more to fill that cup. And like I was saying, like before, I went to a martial arts festival, and 8 martial artists showing like at least a half an hour of their sample, and I'm looking at most of these styles. It's like these are stuff that I've learned after like the 26 years I've been doing martial arts, but yet there's always that difference in the style. I mean, there's always some similarity, but there's a difference, like either stances or how they strike. I mean, but nevertheless, it's something that can enhance and make me feel better, or make me feel better about my style. And not that I don't want to go to another style yet, but it's just kind of like being part of the community. Yeah, if you know
Yeah.
what I mean. Yeah.
Well, everybody's different, and some people's personality and whatever, they get into one martial art and they just stay with that forever. I'm the same way in business and in life and in martial arts. I like to do a lot of things for whatever reason. I don't know if it's ADD or something, but I've done a lot of martial arts, and if I had nothing but time, I'd probably do even more. You gotta put some food on the table. Um, but they all have something to offer, and even the peaceful martial arts. Um, like Aikido or whatever, which I normally wouldn't, think of as a effective fighting art, it still has a lot to offer in terms of teaching you mindset or linking your techniques together, that kind of stuff. There, it's a fascinating world.
Yeah, yeah, you pretty much hit the nail on the head. Say you have to put food on the table, but in your situation, I mean, like Steve Harvey would once said, "Don't complain about having a full plate when your goal is to eat." And yet, in this case, with all the stuff you got going on, I mean, you're really prepping for like the week. You always have a full plate, like every time, but yet it's like you don't have it handed to you. I mean, you're pretty much prepping everything and cooking, and just like you're just putting it out for the week, and you're trying to figure out which meal to eat. And yeah, it's like because sometimes you have this meal you want to eat, but yet you don't want it don't want it today, but you have to switch it up. So yeah, I guess in your case things get switched up every time because either you don't feel it or there's a conflict. So yeah, what how that would pretty much what how would you say that you're going through right now?
Yeah, well, it's been a long, I'm getting up here in years. I've been doing this a long time, started a lot of things, and you're right, man. I've got a full plate, but it's a blessing. I'm so glad you mentioned Steve Harvey. I love the things that he shares, the motivation and mindset stuff that he shares. And I don't know that it's been as extreme as him, but mostly through my own blockheadedness, I've been through tough times and risen out of them through luck, through hard work, through good people around me. And it's the same in the martial arts, right? You got to be willing to suck at something for a little while if you want to be really good at it. And so, if I were to start a new martial art tomorrow, I got to recognize that for a year, 2 years, 3 years, not going to be very good. But just like you, right? You start at the beginning and you keep going, and you get better and better and better. You just can't quit.
Yeah, definitely hit the nail on the head on there. What I know how you say usually I can say I suck in reading, but you know, I felt find a way that I can get better with reading. I have a big imagination. I just kind of play it out like a movie. Like if I'm reading a book and I'm reading through the words, it's like I'm trying to at least read this, look at a movie of it, like what's happening here? Like
Interesting.
what does this character look like? So I mean that's how I got into Harry Potter movies or Harry Potter books, to be exact. I mean, well, first it was the movies, and then I started getting into the books, and I pretty much knew what Harry Potter looked like, and then from there, as I read the books, it's like now I know what Daniel Ref or Radcliffe looks like, or what he's gonna do, how is this gonna happen. So yeah. And of course, speaking of books, yeah, you have 10 you author 10 books. So all those are martial arts based, correct?
Actually, about half of them are martial arts based, and the other half are just things I was interested in. You go out, you learn something, and then what do you do with that knowledge? For me, it's put it into a form that I can share with others and also keep it for myself. So, my one of my best friends and I started a marketing company, a digital marketing company. So we went out and learned everything we could, and we put together a book, right? SEO and beyond. Um, uh, I took in college. I was an English major, so I wrote a novel, got that out there, that kind of stuff. But the rest of it's all martial arts. I just, you learn something, you put it into a system, put it together. And I've been lucky. The martial arts books have sold pretty well. Uh, and I'm still doing it, learning stuff, putting it into something, then you have it, share it with the world, make a few bucks is great. That's not really the purpose, but it's nice when it happens.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've been pretty much getting that idea of even write my own book. I got my notebooks ready. It's like, yeah, I'm trying to find all the time that I can to just kind of write notes and just like get something going. I mean, I got all these things happening to me, and I'm basically like busy. There's hardly no days off for me. Definitely even on a Saturday, Sunday, even if I don't have to work, I'm still trying to find something to do. That's me. I have to at least get something to do. I don't want to be sitting around doing nothing. But yet, if I don't, then I get called in the cover for another instructor, which I don't mind like teaching. I like to give those kids a challenge and energy. And also being a fitness instructor, that's also a good indemnity. Other than teaching martial arts, you teach them about conditioning. And that kind of gets to my next question. Yeah, your first black belt test. Can you at least give you like your description of like your very first black belt test?
Yeah, so I was thinking about this, over the years, having done so many martial arts, I've had a few first black belt tests, but my first one was in Shorin Karate. And my teacher, actually a guy here in Ann Arbor, Carl Scott Sensei, um, in those days believed in really long tests. So it was like, I don't know, July or August, it's really hot. The test, I can't remember. I think it ran 6 or 7 hours,
Ooh.
and you could just did everything. You did everything. You had to do all your kata, all your weapons. You had to fight. You had to he asked you a bunch of questions about history and martial arts philosophy, and it was like 7 or 8 of us. A bunch of people testing for high level brown belts. A few of us testing for our showdown, our first black belt. It's hot, went on forever, but that's how we loved it in those days. We just felt like, we just felt like athletes. I was in my, I don't know, my early 20s maybe. All us guys, we were We were lean. We trained like madmen. We did tons of push-ups every day. So it's just like another challenge. We just embraced it. We're like, let's bring it on. The longer and the hotter, the better. Nowadays, I'd probably complain a little bit, but in those days, I ate it up.
Yeah, I can see what you mean. Like mostly black belt testers had to be that well, depending on how many people are testing too. So of course, in this case, if you only have like 2 or 3 people testing, I mean, you don't want to keep them there for 6 hours. I mean, for me, but mostly my tests, it was mostly physical work. It wasn't just knowledgeable stuff. Like they wouldn't ask questions of like the history of martial arts, but it's just our knowledge of what we did from white belt to where we are now to getting the black belt. And like I said, with conditioning, that's extremely important. And most of these kids, what we when we go over a class, is just more than just teaching them martial arts. It's get conditioning because if you're not conditioned to do a black belt test, you're going to be wiped out before even the end of the test. I've seen this many times sitting on the testing board. I hear huffing and puffing. Yeah, these kids will just use their strength like before in the test, and then in the middle of the test, it's like they drop dead. So
Yeah, and
yeah,
that prepares you for fights or self-defense too, right? If you're gassed, no matter how good a fighter you are, you can't, you can't hang in there.
yeah. Usually, I tell these kids with self-defense, you could be tired, you could be sweaty, you could be aching, but your goal is to go home, and yet your mindset is, am I going to make it home? You know, definitely, they're not thinking about what I'm going to do when I get home. You're thinking about, am I going to make it home? You walk out that door, out of school, out of karate, even out in the store, and something could happen to you on your way to get in the car, or something can happen to you on your ride home from the car, or something can happen to you as you step out of the car trying to get in the house. So you want to think about those things, those small things, before you actually get to your destination.
100%. Absolutely. Got to be prepared, mind and body.
Yeah. Definitely with me being a black belt, my eyes are always going all over the place, driving and even walking. I can have that Jedi sense pretty much. I mean, yeah, I kind of have that Jedi sense. It's like it's strange, but you know, I know something's bad's gonna happen, or either something good's gonna happen, or anything could happen. So, but I'm always prepared for it. And just yeah, just keep a good distance. People should know, even when I'm talking to somebody, I know I keep a good distance. I don't need to be that close to somebody to actually talk to them. It's like they can hear me. I got a big mouth. Yep. Yeah, I always tell these students, when you're presenting yourself, you always have the big mouth. The louder the volume, the better the concert.
Yeah, right. 100%. That's a rock and roll mindset.
Now, yeah, if I'm gonna have a loud voice, I'm gonna be like Phil Collins.
Awesome.
Uh, all right, so let's kind of go into your other side of your profession. Of course, you are in marketing and everything else. So with marketing, like how do you work with marketing, really?
Well, it all started because I had opened a dojo and my buddy built a website for me. And he goes, "Come on in. I want to show you how this works. If you need to add pages or add new content to the website or photos, whatever." So we sat in his office for an hour and he showed me how to do all that stuff. And then I get up from his desk and I walk to the door and then I stopped and I turned back and I go, "Hey, this website's going to show up on Google, right?" And he's like, "No, get back in here." So I sat down and he goes, "There's this whole thing. It's called SEO, search engine optimization." And he says, in order for your website to show up on Google, you have to have the right keywords, the right kind of content. The structure of the website has to be right. I'm like, "Man, what the hell is that?" He said, "Listen, here's a list of things you got to know. Start doing that, learn it, and then you'll understand a lot better." So it was a new dojo. I didn't have any students when I started. And I basically gave myself about 3 months where I worked almost full time learning digital marketing, right? Websites, social media, SEO, all that kind of stuff. And then got, Japanese Martial Arts Center up on page 1 of Google. And the rest is history. I mean, people started asking me, "Hey, how'd you do that?" You know, so it came out of martial arts, like everything in my life came out of martial arts. Learned how to market Japanese Martial Arts Center, started helping other people with it, and little by little it grew into a real business. So now, we've been in business it's almost 17 years, And we have tons of clients, local clients, other clients around the country, a few international clients, and employees. It's just like a martial arts journey. When you start, when you're a white belt, you got to learn how to block, punch, kick. When you're a high level black belt, your job is teaching others or helping the dojo run. And so now, after 17 years in the marketing business, my job is to make sure the people on the front lines have a nice place to work, that they have support, education, that the clients feel well taken care of. Right. So I'm kind of I don't know, I would say in marketing, I'm like a 3rd-degree black belt after all these years. But still got a ways to go. But it's been a journey. And like I said, it arose out of martial arts like everything else I do.
Yeah, it's like you're still a warrior. I mean, even if you're a leader, you're a leader of an army, you're still a warrior. So the thing I would say is, would you trust a king that has scars or a king that doesn't have scars?
I love that. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So really, I mean, if you have that one king that says I'm this and that, and you don't see any scar on his face or any place else, and that probably this one person that's going to be hiding behind a rock and watch their army get killed. But yeah, I would like saying for me, I'd rather be that same person I'm still a warrior, even if I'm a leader. I got scars and I still got this I pretty much got a lot of stitches as well as knee surgery. So at least I could tell students that um, your health and condition is real important. So you don't want to get a knee injury. So like I did. So that is really big.
Voice of experience. Yeah, right. So it's one thing to share book learning, which is a good thing, but it's another thing to have the wisdom, right? To have the experience and say, listen, don't do what I did.
Yeah. Who would you say you look up to in this journey?
Oh, well, of course, my significant teachers. Um, I'm getting to the age now where most of the major teachers that I had as influences have passed away. So I'm looking to the next generation. Probably the 3 of the most important Japanese teachers I had. I had this guy Yamaguchi Sensei was my sword teacher, #1 most influential person in my life. He passed away quite some time ago. And then Sato Shizuya Sensei was my jujitsu teacher, also passed away. And then recently, this guy Nobetsu Sensei was my Goju karate teacher. All up on the showmen now, right? So when they pass, their picture goes up on the front. So we recognize and honor them at the beginning and end of class. I still look up to them, and I can close my eyes and remember conversations or interactions I've had with those men. It's hard when you've had incredible teachers to find other people to help, but that doesn't mean you can't learn from everybody, whether they're a white belt, a green belt, or somebody who's high ranking in a martial art that maybe I don't teach, I don't study or teach, but who has wisdom to say. You've said things on our last podcast, and you've said things already today that helped me learn. So I don't have too many teachers that I work with on a regular basis like this, but I do have people all around, if you're paying attention, who help me continue to rise as long as I put the work in.
Yeah, that's definitely something that I would agree with. I mean, even if you don't talk to that person will also inspire you. Like actually watch all these quotes or even read all these quotes and these people, and this is something I can really use for myself as well as others. And yeah, I could get the fact that I look up to my own instructor, even my first instructor, who of course I'm ahead of him in degrees. I mean, he should be a master already, but no, life kind of gets in the way. But yet, I kind of grew up with my first instructor, and mostly he's the reason why I got my current job now, because he had the same job and he recommended me to actually get a job. So, and so be it. Here I am, making more money and having more hours. I mean, that's pretty much making me feel better. And yet, my current instructor, yeah, I don't know what's might happen to him in a couple of years, but yet I'm learning from him and learn how like everything works other than teaching a class and like how to take payments, how to look at applications. So at least I'm learning a little bit about the business. So in case something does happen to him, I'm prepared and I know what I'm doing.
You need that because you never know, right? Any of us could go at any time, and if you have an institution like a dojo, that's something I've been thinking about a lot in the last 5 years, right? What happens next? How do I make sure this thing outlives me? Um, and so there's a lot to learn. It sounds like you're learning some of it.
Yeah. It's kind of a scary experience, but like like one thing, I don't want like talking on the phone as much to like try to find out what's happening with my account or call to see what's make a reservation. But one of these days I have to do it. So I mean, there's nobody else that can do it for me. That's this. It goes with growing up.
Isn't that funny? I'm the same way. I prefer it when new members at JMac contact me by email. It's easier. But every day I get 3, 5, 7 messages from people that call in, and I got to get those messages and call them back. And even after all these years, it's the hardest thing I do. I don't know why. I have no idea why. I just have trouble picking up that phone. I do it, right? It's just like doing push-ups or something, but
Yeah.
I don't love it. I don't know why.
Yeah, especially if you have to talk to those people that are really irritating, but you have to talk to them anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure enough.
Hey. So what is inspirational quote best describes your journey?
Oh man. Um, I have a lot of these. Some of the things that I do, based on the lessons I've learned in martial arts. In fact, we asked this question of you when you came on the show, right? Which is, if you could give one benefit you've gotten out of martial arts in your training, if you could share that with others, whether they train or not, right? So for me, it's inspiration. I get inspired through the martial arts framework. So I teach a lot of that stuff. I have a lot of quotes I use. Um, uh, and the one that Randy and I talk a lot together is, how you do anything is how you do everything. Meaning, if you slop through life, then you're going to slop through life, right? But if you focus hard and try your best wherever you go, then trying your best becomes a habit. And it's really true. If you stop and you say, whatever it is I'm doing, like this podcast right now, or doing some paperwork, or cleaning the garage, there's always a best way to do it. And in your mind, you've probably been through this. Your mind says you should do that, and when you're in a lazy mood, you just go, oh, I'm going to do that later. But I try to listen when the mind says you should do that, and do it, whether I feel like it or not, because that's the right thing to do. And then that habit, that mindset, carries over into things like martial arts training or mentoring other people. So I guess I would run with that one. How you do anything is how you do everything.
Yeah. And definitely Steve Harvey. Well, I always going to quote Steve Harvey,
Do
and he
it.
says like you become exceptional when you make an exceptional decision.
100%. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like you go through life and you stag over the sound of a alarm clock, and you kind of feel like you don't want to wake up. So yeah, you have to really think about it, doing something that's gonna basically stop whatever you're gonna do and just make a exceptional decision.
If I were to give one piece of advice to people that are struggling, I would give them exactly what you just said. When that alarm clock goes off, get out of bed. I don't care how you feel. I did that 30 years ago. I just made that decision. When I set my alarm clock, when it goes off, I never sleep through my alarm. I never reset it. I mean, maybe if I have 104 fever, but otherwise, and then I've developed a series of activities I do. They're simple, like everybody, you get up and you go potty and you brush your teeth and wash your face or whatever, but I just march through that stuff. That's never a question, right? By the time you're done with that, your day's under, have a cup of coffee or whatever you have, and boom, go. If I would give one piece of advice, never sleep through your alarm clock. Hit it and go.
No, just funny. I always beat my alarm clock. I always wake up before my alarm clock sometimes. So yeah,
Even better.
yeah. Mostly if I wake up from a bad dream, then that's why. Yeah. So all right, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached our hidden dojo segment of the interview. So of course, this is where I ask Nicklaus Suino the fun questions. So he's going to answer those questions at the best of their ability. So Nicholas, I got 7 questions for you to answer. So you ready for this?
I'll do my best, brother.
Uh, all right. So the first question is the best piece of advice you ever gotten, and who said it?
All right. So my teacher, Yamaguchi Sensei, said it, and it's as simple as it can be. Just keep training.
Oh yeah, that's
Well, I was younger. I went over to Japan when I was 28, and uh, for some people that seems like a grown-up age. But out here on the foothills of senility, it seems like a pretty young age. I was young and impulsive, and I'd come into the dojo. I went to his house once a week, and we trained there, and we have a 3-hour practice session. And I'd come in and I'd go, Sensei, 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 what about this? What about this? What about this? Come in with all these harebrained ideas. And he'd be just like, he's like, good, let's train. That was his solution to everything. Just train. And then we would focus training for 3 hours, get all these insights, all these benefits, go away, come back the next week. Sensei, Sensei, Sensei. Just keep training. And so no matter what else happens in life, that for me, that's till the day I die, I would just keep training.
and train doesn't have to be physical. It could be mental, and it could be like even nutritional. That could be that's really important nutrition. Other than having a condition, most people like to chop on like the wrong foods, and then before class, next they drop like flies. And I always tell my students, make sure you have something good before you come train. Otherwise, you're going to be wiped out.
It's part of the recipe, isn't it? Right? You
Yeah.
gotta cardio, you gotta have good nutrition, you gotta hydrate, you gotta sleep well, all that stuff. And better you do that, the better your training is going to be.
Yeah, worst thing hate to see is students in there. They train too hard. Next, they toss their grits in the garbage can.
Well, it's funny you say that. Uh, I've got a student. He lives in Japan now, but when he trained with me, guy's like 6'7", just a huge dude, wonderful human being. Andy Palmer, just love him. And when he was fairly new, he'd come to judo class, and of course, like everybody, when they're new in judo, just get their butt whipped, right? Just get thrown around, held on the ground, just miserable. And one day he came in and he goes, Sensei, I don't know if this was a good idea. I had spaghetti just before I came to class.
Oh.
I said, okay, on you. And of course, like, in 10 minutes, he was outside getting rid of the spaghetti. Poor guy.
Yeah. All right. Here's the next question. Usually people don't get this, but the worst advice you've ever gotten.
Well, for me, it's not one specific thing. We're all different. But for me, the worst advice I've ever gotten is to just do things the way everybody else does them. It's like, go to school, do your homework. Those are good things. Follow a regular career, get a 9-to-5 job. Like, that's just not me, right? When I did have like normal 9-to-5 jobs, I've always been miserable. It wasn't until I figured out that I got to run my own companies and do that I succeed. And even though I've been lucky, blessed, pretty successful through a lot of hard work, I always take a path that's maybe not conventional. It just suits me. I think you're kind of that way too, right? Not necessarily a mainstream guy. And so when someone tells me, oh, just do it the way everybody else does, for me, that's bad advice.
Yeah. I mean, everybody has their own path of what they want to go. I don't have to be like other people that are successful. I'm not that I'm not going to take anything from like what I see from out of that person, but yeah, if I'm gonna take a little bit from that person, but I'm gonna make it into my own thing and go for my own success. I don't have to make a lot of money and have a lot of cars. I just want to live a normal life. Make sure my bills are paid and everything's paid. And I'm surviving. I ain't out there to impress everybody.
If
Yeah,
you do well in what you do, whatever it is, right? That's the key, right? It's money's nice. I've been broke and I've been doing okay, and it's better to have money than not to have money, but that won't fill the emptiness, right?
yeah,
Um, um, who's the football player that just got a coaching job at one of the colleges, and he's really inspirational. Anyway, he says the same thing, right? You're eating those steaks and you're still empty, right? You're drinking that wine and you're still empty. You're going out with beautiful women, you're still empty because you got to solve you, right? And it's the
yeah.
same thing in work. It's the same thing in work. If you're only chasing that dollar, it's not going to fulfill you. You gotta have a life that connects with who you are and what your gifts are.
Yeah. Usually for me, I just mind my business. If people want to exalt me, that's fine, but I'm being my humble self and my business. Uh, all right, next question. How do you reward yourself, or what's your guilty pleasure?
um, I wish it was something really, really exotic, but it's not. I mean, my weakness and my guilty pleasure is I really like pastries. If I let myself go, I would be a lot heavier, and I would eat a lot of pastries. My grandma I had a German grandmother who was a great cook, and holidays were spent at grandma's house, and she cooked, and everything you can imagine. Just so good. So for me, that's like, um, uh, I don't know how to explain it, right? It connects with the emotionally. I love the taste of pastries, but also kind of nostalgic for me. So if I let myself go, I'd be a much bigger human being.
Oh yeah, I mean, really, my guilty pleasure is the cookies. Yeah, yeah. I mean,
What,
like,
what kind of cookies? What kind of cookies do you like?
I like the sugar cookies. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I mean,
Oh man.
I'm like Cookie Monster. Yeah, that's my favorite character on Sesame Street, Cookie Monster.
No
Yeah,
kidding. Well, for good reason, it sounds like.
yeah,
Love
yeah.
it.
It'd be funny if Cookie Monster was a real person. I would probably like to meet him in a Comic-Con.
There
Yeah.
you go. You could totally do that. That's hilarious. Yeah, for me, it's pastries. Really good ones like almond croissants or danishes or any of that kind of stuff. I don't know why, man. A cup of coffee and a pastry. That's my idea of a good time.
Hey. All right. What famous movie would you want to be in?
Man, I struggled with this one. I know you let me know you were going to ask me this, and I thought about it. There's three movies that I can basically quote you from beginning to end. First Godfather movie, Apocalypse Now. I don't know if you're old enough to remember that movie, Apocalypse Now,
Mm.
and Blade Runner.
Blade Runner.
Yeah,
Ooh.
those are my three favorite movies of all time, and I can quote them pretty much from beginning to end. And if I had to be in one of those movies, it would have to be The Godfather, man. I just like the idea of hanging out with the truth is the mafioso are not nice people and there's nothing romantic about it. But in movies, it seems really cool. It'd be fun to hang out with those guys, be in Little Italy in New York, sipping an espresso and talking to The Godfather and just having an inside eye on that. So that's probably the one I'd be in.
Well, honestly, I would say I would like to be in the movie Casino, but that was
Ooh.
like a savage movie, and Joe Pesci was a savage, and I'm just sitting there cracking up every time he gets angry and say he wants to beat somebody up, but it was just, but he was just a savage, and of course, I see he came out of retirement doing the series on Peacock, but
Oh, really?
I haven't watched it yet, but it's just nice to actually see him doing movies other than like Casino and Lethal Weapon and Home Alone.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
in Goodfellas, right? He was that guy too. Like he would lose his temper. And then he replayed it in Casino, and it's so uncomfortable. It's coming, and you're just like, oh, Pesci's going off.
yeah. I just still thinking of that desert scene. It's just that was like the most ironic. That was like the most ironic scene. Him and Robert De Niro. Yeah,
Yeah, that great movies. Holy cow.
yeah. That's probably the reason why I had my love for Las Vegas. This would be my 13th time going. So
For
for
what?
yeah, for my for the convention. Yeah, but I'm so used to Las Vegas. Like, it seems like it gets so small. I could just simply take one step and I'm on the other side of the street. Yeah,
Man. Yeah, I've been there a few times, and yeah, I was there in the old days, right? Where like you could get a beer for 25 cents or breakfast for $1 and all that. It's changed. It's
yeah.
changed. It's much more like a resort town than it used to be.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna be a casino owner and make people mad, and then you got all these mafia coming after me, trying to blow me up while I'm in my car. So no,
Yeah, watch out for that. Make sure you start your car from a distance so you
yeah,
see if it blows up or not.
yeah. Uh, what would you say your secret talent would be?
Whew. Man, I don't know, man. There's not much about me that's secret anymore. But if I have a talent that's not martial arts, I can talk. So I can get on a stage and talk, comfortable doing it, talking hours. I can do it with a speech planned, or I can just do it impulsively. That just happens to be a gift of mine. I don't know how other people feel about it, but I love doing it. I've always loved running my mouth, and running my mouth with an audience is just that much more fun.
I guess for me, my hidden talent would be voice impersonation. Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
Like what do you do? Cartoon characters or famous people or
Like, of course, you heard James Earl Jones retired as Darth Vader.
yes.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Nice. I love it.
Yeah, or
In case they're looking for someone new, they're gonna get you in there.
or if they're looking for somebody to do a disc jockey, I could be like the next Wolfman Jack. You know, you let the midnight special shine as another light on you.
Was I this is way before your time, but did you ever see the movie American Graffiti?
Oh, with uh Harrison Ford.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I seen that a little bit. Yeah,
Well, yeah, because Wolfman Jack, because the background in that is always they're always playing the radio, right, for playing the music, and Wolfman Jack is on that one, so he has a big part in that.
yeah. Wolfman Jack played your country.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I always like doing that for. Yeah. All right. What was it? Dream celebrity encounter.
I would say I would love. I've been lucky. I've met a lot of people that are pretty well known, quite a few Hollywood people. Um, but I would love to meet Jackie Chan.
Mm,
Of course, I love his movies and I love the stunts and all that stuff. But you get a little bit of insight into who he is, and now he's getting older. He does more interview shows and stuff. Can you imagine, having lunch or coffee with Jackie and just talking to him for an hour? To me, that'd just be amazing.
yeah, that probably be somebody on my bucket list. I want to meet Jackie Chan. Likely he won't end up at a Comic Con anywhere, but it'd be it'd be nice if he is actually walking down the street and I actually would accidentally bump into him or even hold the door open for him, and yet he say thank you, and that'd be amazing.
Yeah, yeah. That's happened to me. I've met a few celebrities in airports and things like that, and they've always been super nice. A couple of MMA fighters I met were not very nice, and I will not mention any names, but almost everybody else has just been amazing.
Yeah, I just don't get too crazy with famous people. I just like I'm calm, cool, and collective. Especially I'm at cons. I talk to them like normal people, and they kind of geek out when I'm dressed up in cosplay. So
Uh-huh.
yeah, yeah.
That's perfect. I love it, man.
Uh, all right. Of course. Here's one. 10 years from now, what would you say your future plans would be?
Well, on the martial arts front, I hope I'm doing a lot of what I'm doing now, training a lot, teaching a lot, growing my dojo. I told you I've been thinking about the next generation and the next generation. So in 10 years, I want to be a lot better at that, have more of my black belts doing things like teaching classes at my dojo or teaching satellite clubs, or maybe they go off and they start their own dojo somewhere. But I want to be in the thick of it, working with people, helping mentor them, giving people a place to go. I probably you're starting to look at some stuff coming with age, so I won't be able to train as hard, I'm guessing, in 10 years as I do now. But I'll do what I can. I'll max out what I can. And hopefully the business side of it's going as well or better than it is now. Yeah, but if it's a lot like this, only more of it, I'd be happy with that.
Most definitely. So it's always best to still be within the martial arts business, but you can't do anything physically, but yet you can still definitely verbally and mentally think of always making it bigger.
Yeah, 100%.
Uh, so is there any last minute words that would you like to say to our listeners out there before we cut out?
Man, thank you so much for teeing this up. If I mean you're living it. Stay humble, stay fascinated, put in the hard work, be nice to people, and pay attention. Learn from your mistakes. Life is a gift. We are so lucky each and every day to be able to get up and do the things we do. And if we're lucky enough to have a job and people look up to us, that's a blessing, man. Can't ask for more than that.
Uh, Most definitely. So, thank you very much for joining me on this episode, Nicholas. And of course, you're basically one of the other co-hosts of the podcast, the Kick Punch or Punch Kick Choke Chat podcast. Of course, I think I got like 3 people left. I got to get right.
Got to put your work in, see what you can do to pin us all down.
Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna do my little closing for the show, and we're gonna cut out. So for those who are just tuning in, tune into my previous episodes on the BICBPRadio.com, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. And I'll see you next time for another episode here at the Kickpod Podcast. This is your host, TJ Williams, bowing you out.